Once there was a girl named Emily who lived in a small town. Her family struggled financially, and she often wore hand-me-down clothes and went to school with a packed lunch made from leftovers. Despite their financial hardships, Emily was an avid learner, especially when it came to science and technology. Her room was filled with gadgets she had taken apart and books on engineering. Though her family couldn't afford expensive materials, she would scavenge for discarded electronics and craft her own inventions from them. Emily's life had always been tough. Growing up in a small town, her family often struggled to make ends meet. Her father had lost his job when the local factory shut down, and her mother worked 2 shifts as a waitress just to keep food on the table. Emily, being the oldest of 3 children, felt the weight of the family's financial struggles. She wore worn-out shoes, shared textbooks with friends, and learned to make do with whatever she had. Yet, despite these hardships, she was a curious child who never stopped dreaming. She found solace in books, especially those on science and technology, and spent hours in the local library reading about famous inventors and their breakthroughs. Emily's fascination with energy had started young, during one of the many power outages that plagued her town. She remembered sitting in the dark with her siblings, wrapped in blankets to stay warm while their parents lit candles and cooked dinner over a gas stove. The unreliable electricity made life harder than it had to be. It was then that Emily decided she would find a way to change that. She was just 11 years old at the time, but even then, she was determined to solve the problem. Years passed, and Emily became known around her neighborhood as the Gadget Girl. She would collect broken appliances, discarded electronics, and anything else people threw away. With her hands covered in grease and grime, she would spend weekends disassembling and reassembling things in the garage. She built small robots, makeshift radios, and even a rudimentary windmill out of bicycle parts. Her inventions were far from perfect, but they sparked joy in her and kept her curious mind busy. One fateful winter, a massive snowstorm hit the town, knocking out power for nearly 2 weeks. The temperature dropped below freezing, and people were left without heating, lights, or ways to charge their phones. Some families had to move into community shelters just to stay warm. For Emily's family, it meant shivering under layers of blankets and using all their savings to buy firewood. The hardship fueled Emily's determination even more. She vowed to create something that could provide power during emergencies, no matter where people lived. Emily started spending every spare moment working on her idea. Her first prototype was crude, a small generator made from a bicycle wheel that she had rigged to produce electricity when spun. It barely worked, but she didn't let that discourage her. She kept refining her concept and eventually incorporated solar panels she found at a junkyard. She fused the bicycle wheel generator with the panels, so the device could harness both kinetic energy from motion and solar energy from sunlight. Her new invention, which she affectionately called the PowerPouch, could generate power from walking, shaking, or even leaving it out in the sun. For months, she tested and refined the PowerPouch, sneaking into her school's computer lab to research energy storage and different materials that could improve the device's efficiency. She saved up enough money from doing odd jobs around town to buy a high-capacity battery and some specialized components online. Slowly but surely, the PowerPouch evolved from a rudimentary gadget into a sleek, pocket-sized device that could power small electronics for days. It was capable of storing energy for later use and could even charge multiple devices at once. Excited about the potential of her invention, Emily decided to showcase the PowerPouch at the upcoming town science fair. She had high hopes that people would see its value. However, when the day finally arrived, things did not go as planned. Her presentation was met with skepticism, if not outright mockery. Her classmates whispered and giggled as she tried to explain how the device worked, and some teachers dismissed her project as overly ambitious for a high school student. "It's a nice try, but the concept is far too basic," said one of the judges. "Something like this would never be able to replace traditional power sources." Devastated but not defeated, Emily knew she had to find another way to get her invention out there. She decided to create a crowdfunding campaign to raise money for further development and production. She recorded a video in her garage, explaining the device and demonstrating how it worked. She spent weeks editing the video and writing a compelling story for the campaign, pouring her heart and soul into it. Her hope was that people who had experienced power outages like she had would see the PowerPouch's potential. But when she launched the campaign, the initial response was lukewarm. The first few days saw only a handful of donations, and many of the comments on the campaign's page were harsh. "This is just another gimmick," one user wrote. "If it were really that easy, someone would have already made it." Others accused her of trying to scam people. Emily felt her heart sink as the negativity grew. She began to wonder if she had made a huge mistake, putting herself out there only to face rejection once again. Then, one night, as she was lying in bed staring at the ceiling, her phone buzzed. It was a notification from her crowdfunding page. A tech journalist, known for reviewing bizarre and unusual gadgets, had shared her campaign with a sarcastic comment, "Here's one for the why not give it a try pile." His review wasn't exactly encouraging, but it brought a surge of visitors to the page. Some were there to mock, but others were genuinely curious. The donations began to trickle in, and the buzz slowly started to build. Sensing an opportunity, Emily reached out to the journalist, offering to meet him in person and give a live demonstration of the PowerPouch. To her surprise, he accepted. The meeting was set for a week later at the journalist's office in the city. Emily scraped together the last of her savings for a bus ticket, packed her prototype into her backpack, and made the journey. When she arrived at the journalist's office, she was trembling with nervousness, fearing that he would dismiss her just like everyone else. But as she explained how she had developed the device using discarded materials and demonstrated its functionality, the journalist's skepticism began to fade. He tested the PowerPouch himself, charging his phone, powering a portable fan, and even running a small LED light for several hours. By the end of the demonstration, he was no longer smirking but was instead genuinely impressed. The journalist published a new article titled, "The Gadget Everyone Laughed At May Be the Next Big Thing in Portable Energy." He praised Emily's ingenuity, describing the PowerPouch as an innovation born out of necessity. The article went viral, quickly gaining millions of views. Tech enthusiasts, humanitarian organizations, and even survivalist groups took notice. Suddenly, Emily's crowdfunding page was flooded with donations and pre-orders. In less than 24 hours, the campaign surpassed its initial goal by 1,000-fold. Within the same day, Emily began receiving offers from investors and tech companies. Some wanted to buy the patent outright, while others proposed partnerships to scale production. As the offers rolled in, a major tech conglomerate contacted her with a proposal she could hardly believe. They offered to purchase the patent for the PowerPouch for $1 billion upfront, along with an agreement to pay her royalties on every unit sold. Emily was overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events. In the span of a single day, she had gone from a poor girl whose family struggled to keep the lights on to a multi-billionaire with a seat at the table of technological innovators. But she didn't let the money distract her from her original goal. She negotiated with the company, ensuring that a percentage of the profits would go toward humanitarian efforts, particularly in regions affected by natural disasters and energy poverty. She wanted the PowerPouch to be more than just a consumer gadget. She wanted it to change lives, just as it had the potential to change hers. With the deal signed, Emily immediately set up the Power for All Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to distributing PowerPouches to areas in need. The foundation sent tens of thousands of units to regions devastated by hurricanes, floods, and wildfires, providing power to those who needed it most. In communities without stable electricity, the PowerPouch became a lifeline, giving people a way to stay connected, keep warm, and even power medical devices during emergencies. Emily's story became a global phenomenon, inspiring countless young inventors and dreamers. She was invited to speak at international conferences, met with world leaders, and was even featured on the cover of major magazines. But despite her newfound fame and fortune, she never forgot where she came from. She used part of her wealth to rebuild her hometown, creating a community center with a state-of-the-art science lab where kids could learn about technology and invent their own gadgets. She funded scholarships for students interested in engineering and renewable energy and established mentorship programs to encourage young girls to pursue careers in STEM fields. Through it all, Emily remained humble, always remembering the years she spent tinkering in the garage and the times she doubted herself. Her journey from being mocked at a school science fair to selling her invention for $1 billion served as a powerful reminder that even the greatest ideas often start in the humblest of places. And sometimes, the world just needs a little push to see their value. As Emily stood on the stage at a prestigious tech conference, holding the very first PowerPouch she had ever built, a battered, scuffed-up device made from bicycle parts and scrap metal, she smiled and said, "Never let anyone tell you your dreams are too big or your ideas are too small. Every invention starts with a problem that needs solving, and sometimes, the best solutions come from those who refuse to give up."